Hi, I'm Jennifer and this is Kate, and welcome to our reading roundup for May 2023.
So honestly, it has been a very busy month with all sorts of end of the school year activities and things going on. So I have definitely not been reading as much as usual.
But I have, never fear. So I've read a lot of interesting books. I'm excited to share them with you.
So let's go ahead and see what we've been reading in the month of May.
Okay, so our first book was the Book of the Month Club book from Sophia Institute Press for May, and it's this fun one, The Habsburg Way, 7 Rules for Turbulent Times.
So this is by Edward Habsburg, who is the Archduke of Austria, and also Hungary's ambassador to the Holy See, which is really cool. So yes, this is the Habsburg family of the Holy Roman Empire.
So it's funny, don't let the Archduke title fool you, because in the book, the author kind of pokes fun at his family and he says, yes, we all have the title Archduke or Archduchess, and we have that title because back in 1358, a document of dubious origins surfaced. Supposedly it was from Julius Caesar himself, and it said, yes, from now on, everyone in the family can use those titles. So they still do, even though pretty much everyone agrees that the document was a fake.
But still, there are a lot of famous people in his family, like Maria Theresa of Austria, who was the mother of Marie Antoinette, and then also Blessed Emperor Karl, who is on his way to sainthood. He was the last emperor of Austria. So this guy's got a pretty cool family.
So in the book, he gives us 7 different principles to live by that his family has used ever since the year 950. They've been around for a while. So those include be Catholic and practice your faith, parts 1 and 2, get married and have lots of children, and believe in the empire.
Also, know who you are and live accordingly, stand for law and justice, and die well.
So there you go, 7 ways that you can live like an emperor. There were a lot of things that we really liked about this book, including the author's writing style. He was very funny, very engaging. You almost felt like he was in the room with you, talking to you about his crazy family, right? And as I mentioned earlier, he is not afraid to poke fun at his family, including the infamous Habsburg jaw.
He also shares a lot of really interesting things that his family did. For instance, one member started the famous line of Lipizzaner stallions.
And then another member, Don Juan of Austria, we know him for his famous great naval victory at the Battle of Lepanto. And that's just kind of like the tip of the iceberg for the Habsburg family. They have definitely done a lot of amazing and interesting things.
So the only thing that we didn't like in this book was all the different people involved and all the different emperors and all the different Johns and Charles. Like, they get all confused at times, though the author does do a great job of somehow keeping them all under control.
Yeah, it's not really his fault. He has just this amazing family with tons of members in it, right? There was also a surprising thing in this book we weren't expecting, but it turns out that the author is a big fan of online Catholic dating websites, because you know, one of the principles to live by is get married and have lots of children. And of course, that's going to be a lot easier if you're married to someone who shares your faith. So there you go, all you singles out there, dating advice right from the Holy Roman Empire.
So overall, this book is pretty short. It's a fast read, but it is lots of fun, very interesting, and we enjoyed it tremendously. And we think that all of you history lovers out there will enjoy it as well. All right, so as we mentioned in the intro, I have not really had the time to hardly read anything this month. We've been very busy with work and finishing the school year and company and all sorts of things going on. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. So most of my free reading time has been spent trying to catch up in the Bible in a year. I am something like 9 days behind in my reading, so I've got a lot of work to do. I am getting very close to the end, however. I started last August, so I'm almost on day 300 now. I'm over in 1st Maccabees and Sirach and Proverbs, and it's been very, very interesting, but I still have a long ways to go before I can finally catch up. Some of these chapters in First Maccabees are very long, oh my goodness. So this is what has been taking up most of my reading time, and it's been great, it's been fun, but then hopefully next month I'll have some other interesting books to talk to you about.
In the meantime, you get me with 3 different books that I read in May. So the first one was a really fun geography book called Around the World in 72 Days. And it is a true story of an American reporter, Nellie Bly, who was really Elizabeth Jane Cochran. Nellie Bly was just a pseudonym. He traveled around the world trying to beat the record of Phineas Fogg in Around the World in 80 Days. Now remember, Jules Verne actually wrote Around the World in 80 Days, and when he heard that Nellie was going to try to beat the record of Phineas Fogg, he was all for it, and he invited her to his house to meet him and his wife, which she did. And the story is a lot of fun, seeing everything through the eyes of an 1880s woman traveling around the world by herself. Now, there were things in the book that I was not so much a fan of. For instance, the book is written in a very choppy way. At first I thought, well, is this the abridged version? Or maybe this was a series of newspaper articles she wrote that got put together into a book. But no, the book is unabridged, and that's just how she wrote, I guess. And then there was the whole chapter about Canton. When she got there, she wanted to see, very especially, the town square where prisoners were executed. That was high on her list. Let's go see the place where lots of people die. And I don't know, I thought that was really creepy and weird. And honestly, I just skimmed over a lot of that. After her trip around the world, which, no spoilers, she completed in 72 days, she went on to marry a millionaire, but then she became a female reporter on the ground in Europe in World War I. Her life was just full of so many exciting, interesting things, and the book was fun. I would give it 4 out of 5 stars. So the next book is Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less by Greg McKeown, and it's a time management book. The motto of the book is less but better, and the author shows you how to apply that to all different areas of your life. So the author starts out by describing a paradox that will sound very familiar to most of us, and it's this. So you do something and you do it really well, and people know that you're the person who does XYZ the best. But still, they can't leave you alone. They start asking you to do other things. So pretty soon you're doing X, Y, and Z, but then you're also doing A, B, and C, and LMNOP. And pretty soon you're doing so many things that you don't have time to do anything very well. And you're not making very much progress on any of them. So, sound familiar? The goal of the book is to teach us how to do less but better, which really makes sense, right? And the author supports this idea with tons of examples from people from all walks of life, famous people, ordinary people, religious leaders, owners of companies. He also teaches us how to say no when we're maxed out already. And he points out, and I appreciated this a lot, that if you say no, that yes, you are going to make people angry with you in the short term. However, in the long term, they're going to come to respect you more because they realize that you know your limits, and that if you do say yes to a project, you are definitely someone they can count on who is going to do the job right. So honestly, I think this is one of the most inspiring, helpful time management books I have ever read, and it inspired me to sit down and write out my own list of things that I can say no to so that I can reclaim my time and start making more progress on the projects that are important to me or the things that I need or want to get done. So I really enjoyed it, highly recommend it. This was definitely a 5-star book for me. Now on to my last book, which is Little Sins Mean a Lot, Kicking Our Bad Habits Before They Kick Us by Elizabeth Scalia. Now, I had seen this book several years ago and I'd always wanted to read it, so I was really excited recently to find it in our church library. However, it wasn't quite what I had thought or expected, so I'm a little bit hesitant to review it for you today because I definitely, I don't want to go on YouTube, slamming a Catholic author. That is not my intent at all. So I'm just going to give you my honest review. Your mileage may vary. Okay, so little sins mean a lot. Each chapter focuses on a little different sin, sins that we all commit that can have a very bad impact on our lives. So, maybe procrastination or things like gossip, those are sins we all commit that we just need to stop doing. So each chapter starts with a personal story or reflection from the author. And right there, that is where I started having trouble with the book, because honestly, there is a lot of personal information in this book, almost too much personal information. I definitely think that many times she could have made her point without giving us every last nitty-gritty detail. Again, my opinion only. Maybe some others would appreciate that, I don't know. So there were things in the book that I really did enjoy. For instance, I felt like the chapter on gossip was excellent. The author calls it the sin of dark joy, which is just the perfect name for it. And she includes a lot of quotes from different saints on the topic of gossip that I found very helpful and very convicting. However, there were other chapters that I just, I didn't get or I didn't understand. There was a chapter about the sin of self-neglect, which basically, according to the author, is the sin of not looking nice, like not dressing nicely, not keeping yourself up the way you should. So, is it a sin to wear yoga pants and a t-shirt? I don't know. So I thought that was a little bit unusual. And then there was another chapter called The Sin of Clinging to Our Narratives Beyond Their Usefulness. So what does that mean? Clinging to our narratives beyond their usefulness. That's a sin, evidently. I don't even know what that is. After reading the chapter, I'm still a little bit fuzzy on what that entirely means. There were a few other things in the book that I didn't like. For instance, the author does use a lot of bad language. So I would never hand this off to one of my high school teenagers and say, hey, why don't you read this? This is helpful, because we don't talk that way in my house, and I certainly wouldn't want my kids to think that's a legit thing to do, even though the author was trying to be funny, and I appreciate that. I just didn't feel like it was really that appropriate. She also writes in a really girlfriendy style, which again, you guys know that I don't like that style of writing at all. Also, the author mentions right up front in the first few pages of the book that she had 2 full years to write the book, but she waited till the very last minute to start writing. She waited till she had only 30 days left before the book was due. So here's a writing tip. It's just my opinion, but if that is your writing style, for the love of all things good, do not tell your readers that the book that they are reading you crammed together in just 30 days. Because after that, as I'm reading the book, I'm going through and I'm thinking, I can kind of tell that you put this all together at the last minute. It's not making me love your style anymore. And lastly, as I have mentioned, there is just way too much personal information in a lot of the chapters. So definitely pros and cons in this one for me. I do appreciate again that the author was trying to write in a very funny, engaging, friendly style. However, it just fell flat for me a lot of the times. A lot of reviewers online loved this book, and then a lot of reviewers had my type of experience. I would love to know if you've read this one and what you thought about it. Leave me a comment down below. I'm giving it 3 out of 5 stars.
All right, so that is a look at what we've been reading, or not reading in my case, in May.
Don't worry, Kate's going to catch up with us next month. In the meantime, we'd love to know if you've read any of these books and what you thought, especially if you have read The Habsburg Way. What do you think of online dating? Leave us a comment down below.
So we hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.